Hello, I'm Jerry Davis with jerrywdavis.com. Got a pretty interesting little bit of news for you today. If you don't know it already, they're stirring the pot to generate fear over the monkeypox and, by extension, smallpox. It's part 2 of the White Horse Judgment, the first seal, who comes conquering and to conquer, which I wrote about a couple of weeks ago. I said, there's going to be a follow-on event. There's going to be a second event, a biological event, pandemic event, pestilence event, the disease thing, 2 of them. And this, I would guess this is probably it because the seals are progressing rapidly. There's a lot going on. If you don't know what the seals are, the 7 seals of the judgment of Yahuwah, God, in the book of Revelation. And so there's always been a lot of speculation about what all that is. I mean, there seems to be an overabundance of confusion and conflicting information about Revelation, the Revelation of John, that book. But you can go to chapter 6 and you can read it yourself. And you should. Just go to chapter 6 of the book of Revelation and just read chapter 6. And the scripture promises to bless everybody that reads those words, not just chapter 6, but the whole book. So, you should. All right, so let's take a look at this. Event 202. Remember Event 201? 201 was held in October of, I think it was 2018, where they game planned the coronavirus. And then a month later, presto, there it was. And what was going on behind the scenes, and I think I wrote about that too. Yeah, was it the Center for Disease Control? They were looking for managers that they could spread throughout the United States that could manage CDC guidelines and things like that in multiple regions of the United States. And they were looking for those people before Event 201. I mean, the whole thing was set up. But they count on the public not being up to speed on what's going on. Okay, so here we go. Smallpox. As the United States announces its first confirmed domestic cases of monkeypox in 2022. Now, these things have been popping up for a couple of years. In fact, I wrote about it last year, monkeypox, and said, maybe they're going to float this as a trial balloon and see. This is a horrible-looking disease with about a 10% mortality rate, if the information that I read is correct. But, we've had the chickenpox. I've had the chickenpox vaccine when I was a kid. I guess I got the smallpox vaccine too. I don't know. In elementary school. But the vaccines they give people these days are, they're not really designed to prevent disease. Particularly these mRNA vaccines. And you know this. If you're here and you're listening to me, then you're one of the people that, odds are, you're one of the people that knows what's going on. So here we go. Back to this. The emergence of a non-governmental organization, typically it's spelled George Soros-backed global narrative, has been authored by a panel entrusted by the World Health Organization that may serve as a script for whatever stage has been set. Exactly. Just as Event 201 simulated the global response to a coronavirus pandemic just months before it actually popped up on the scene, Germany has chosen to enact a similar exercise concerning an outbreak of smallpox. Now, smallpox is, a true outbreak of smallpox would be deadly. Smallpox is the real deal. But it's easily vaccinated against. You can get a vaccination for cowpox. Cowpox is a very mild but similarly structured disease. And inoculating you with the cowpox, I guess it's a virus. They say these things are viruses. But anyway, giving you an inoculation of cowpox will make you immune to smallpox. And we have enough smallpox vaccines right now on hand, in stock in the United States, to vaccinate everybody in the United States. So, is smallpox a threat? No. And smallpox is much worse than the global monkeypox. And what it is, what they don't tell you, here we go. A global monkeypox outbreak projects that the virus could kill as many as 250 million of the 3 billion infections it forecasts over an 18-month period. These are all forecasts and speculations and worst-case scenarios. Go down here. Germany's smallpox pandemic simulation rides that momentum, mentioned up there in this paragraph, by apparently setting the stage for a successive public health emergency in response to the cases of monkeypox. Now, these are all of these outbreaks of monkeypox are in homosexual groups, men who, have homosexual relationships with other men. They neglect to use that homosexual word, but that's who I bet 90% of these cases are homosexuals having sex with other homosexuals. Kind of like AIDS. But now they're getting monkeypox. So, they're going to go with, I think, we'll use pigs as the livestock of origin for the coronavirus. Then I think he'll shift it to bats. And I think the Germans are going to go with leopards. Leopard bite. A leopard bite. Obfuscated. Obfuscated, means covered up, blurred out. The apparent origins as a result of gain of function research at the Wuhan Institute. It's like we're never going to get the truth about any of this. Ever. And it's not going to happen. Monkeypox could be breaking out, indeed, and I wrote about it a few days ago. I said, but don't buy it. Because just because they say it's breaking out doesn't mean that's not some goon going around spraying people with it while they're not looking. Spraying it on doorknobs. To make people sick and to intentionally, and they have it in all kinds of little diverse corners of the world, to make it look like, starting off small. But they're going to go big. Okay, we're going to do a very realistic exercise in which a smallpox pandemic result. There we go, from a leopard bite. The scenario will have the particularity, golly, what particularity, that especially young people will be hit very hard. Okay, so here's the narrative that they're going to throw at you. It's your babies that are going to die this time. It's not grandma. It's not grandpa. It's the babies. So you can see parents worldwide. They're going to be half the parents anyway. But they don't want their baby busting out in monkeypox. I got a picture you'll see. Yeah. They don't want that to happen. So they're going to be shrieking and demanding and shaking their fists. Like, you got to make all these other people put that mask back on. Because that's where they're going with this too. They said it can be sprayed by droplets in respiration if the person is showing symptoms. Well, what are the symptoms? I guess big old boiling sores on yourself. And so much are indicative of what I think vapid. Yeah, and it's these. What this paragraph is saying is that it's these bureaucratic doctors that for the first time in their life, they have power. It's been handed to them. And this is what they're going to do. It's the same thing that Fauci did. They're going to do it in Germany this time. I guarantee you. guarantee you they couldn't. They couldn't do it in America. They said, no, it's got to come from Germany this time. BARDA announced it would purchase approximately 13 million doses of the free shot. So, yeah, this is kind of unusual here. In the United States, on the very day that the Centers for Disease Control confirmed a case of monkeypox in Massachusetts, the U.S., this thing called BARDA, announced it would purchase approximately 13 million doses. Well, that's something that you would, you're just not going to be having coffee with your friend at work and say, I think I'm going to go buy 13 million doses of freeze-dried smallpox vaccine. I mean, this is something, for one thing, the dude doesn't have $13 million in his wallet as discretionary spending. This is a budget thing. This is where you have several meetings. It goes up the food chain and down the food chain, back up the food chain. And then they decide, okay, we'll budget, you got $13 million. And then they would already have had conversations with Bavarian Nordic, that's where they're going to come. So this has been obviously in the planning stage, okay? So CDC confirms a case, and presto, bam, 13 million doses of smallpox vaccine. Just doesn't. These things aren't spontaneous. Let's see what we have here. Each asserted the need for a universally administered flu shot to improve the relative ineffectiveness of existing. Hell yeah. Shots that don't work. That's what that is. Sorry to be diddling with the microphone. I think I caught my 8-year-old's, whatever the cough he had a week ago. The great irony of the looming threat. It could be COVID. It could be COVID-22. I could very well be dying and super spreading. I could be doing it. Maybe I know I'm doing it. Maybe I'm a domestic terrorist already because I'm white. I read my Bible. I defend the Constitution and know damn good and well that Joseph Biden was fraudulently put into office. Okay, the great irony of the looming threat of another pandemic crisis. Oh, the vaccinations were heralded for the elimination of smallpox. Edward Jenner, who discovered modern vaccinations, was able to demonstrate how inoculations could be used to prevent smallpox by infecting patients with a much less serious cowpox. So here we go. And this is very important. 200 years ago, they made actual vaccines. They were simple, and they worked. But now, you know what happened? I mean, these monsters ruling the world, they've concluded that vaccines are a great way to get their stuff injected into human beings. And if you make it, related to pandemic and so-called science control of our health, then what are people going to say? They can't it's hard for us to disprove things. Of course, it's really hard for them to prove things, but they have ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, CNN, the mass media. And if you haven't seen those videos of the news TV reporters, the TV people, the talking heads on TV news, where they'll start with one video, one person's talking. And then they'll put another video of a different person saying the same exact words. And eventually your whole screen is filled up with like 50 TV news talking heads all saying the same exact words. Proof, it is obvious proof that they get their scripted TV news from one single source. And it's only 6 or 7 families that control all of the major media in the United States. And you can bet they're Luciferians. But that's the world we live in. And that's not conspiracy theory. What a stupid word. The CIA coined that phrase too. They put it out there. Hold on a second. I got to turn this microphone off so I can clear my throat. I'm not brokenhearted by it, but let's check this out. Who is this? Is this Mr. Snyder? Michael Snyder, whom I've always had high regard for. And I think he's probably a good guy, okay? I think he is. But there's things that I notice about how he writes. He's kind of an alarmist. because he tells us what we should do. We should be greatly alarmed. He's talking about, yeah, I discussed the cases that have popped up in Spain, Portugal, and the United States. Okay, you have 3 countries, and you had, 5 cases of monkeypox showing up. And with these illegals pouring across the border, you can bet we're going to be exposed to everything. They have all kinds of methods for spreading that stuff around, whatever they want to spread around. Because Biden won't close the borders on purpose. And these Mexicans coming in, and Guatemalans and Iranians and North Koreans and Ukrainians and Iranians. Did I say Iranians already? Whatever. They're coming up through the southern border of the United States and jumping on a bus, taken to an airport, flown all over the United States. I mean, they're being deposited everywhere. And there's no vaccinations for them. That's insane. That is, I don't know. I think probably what's the scariest thing is that, and I'm guilty of it too, we discuss all of these things, but we don't raise our fists in fury. And I don't know why. We so vastly outnumber the United States military. We could surround them many times over. There are so many well-armed and trained American men ready to fight. But here we sit. Here we go. 13 probable cases in Canada. A case has been confirmed all the way up in Sweden. A case. And the infected person is not seriously ill, but has been given care. It's probably amounted to a popsicle. How you feel, kid? Oh, I feel good. You want a popsicle? Yeah. Grape one. Here we go. Italy's patient. 1 person and 2 other suspected cases are being monitored. First case of monkeypox in Australia has been confirmed. A man in his 30s who recently returned from the United Kingdom has some sexual relationship with some dude up there in the UK. And they say it's a relatively new disease. We've had monkeys for a long time. What do you mean? I don't think there are any such things as new diseases. I think they just exist, and we become vulnerable to things based on bad nutrition. So hard to be extremely unlucky because it was so hard. Well, see, it used to be so hard to spread. What changed? Johns Hopkins University. You know what? I used to think that was a great school till I watched how they handled the statistics on COVID. They were cooking the books just like all these other guys, telling us it's spreading via physical touch. And it can spread through respiratory droplets under certain circumstances. So, maybe if you've got boils all over you and you vomit on somebody or sneeze on them or cough in their mouth. So, and here's another thing. That is extremely alarming to hear. And up here and that should greatly alarm us. So he's like an alarmist. I don't know that 1 person or 2 or 3 or a dozen. Is it? We saw monkeypox as a ticking time bomb. Especially if you're homosexual, because it seems to be particularly spreading among men have sex. That's called homosexuals, and it's like AIDS. And these doctors never get this stuff right. You know that? There are some good doctors, some good, rational, thinking doctors. But most doctors I've met, they're not bright. Here we go. And it is being reported that there are enough doses of smallpox vaccine to basically vaccinate every one of us. So, if we get vaccinated from smallpox, that's going to knock off the risk from monkeypox too. Here we go. And though monkeypox patients usually get just supportive care, like, hey, you want a popsicle, you need a pillow, or your feet cold, a possible treatment does exist and has also been stockpiled. Tecovirimat, or T-pox, was developed to treat smallpox, but would likely work for monkeypox too. So you know what? This is not much. Here we go. Here we go. Prophecy. Now, this is a prophecy, and it's years old. He says, there's coming another pandemic. It's not the day after tomorrow, but it is coming, and this one is a serious one. This pandemic, the problem is that the first one that was coming wasn't going to be that major. So, because he's talking about a prophecy concerning two pandemics. He says the first one wasn't going to be that major, and that people would kind of make light of the next one. But the next one's not going to be that light. The next one's going to be a very stunning issue, and there's going to be a lot of people. I didn't see, but in a way it looked like a chicken pox type of thing again, or like smallpox type of thing again, where there are sores on the skin that take place. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know what to call that. I don't know what the symptoms might be called, but there were sores on the skin that erupted because of this issue. John Paul Jackson. That's a quote. So here we go. Right now, people talking about a prophetic warning that Sadhu Sundar Savarji issued on March 29th, 2020, so 2 years ago almost, exactly. According to his account, he was shown. Okay, so this guy's he's an Indian prophet who follows the Holy Bible. Okay, according to his account, he was shown that the next pandemic will make this coronavirus look like child's play. Another great wind is going to sweep over the world. And I said the same thing when I was writing about the first seal being the coronavirus. I said, but this white horse judgment, the rider comes conquering and to conquer. So there's a future event. Conquering is, active present tense. It's happening. But to conquer means and another plus there's going to be more. Another great wind worse than the coronavirus pandemic is going to sweep this whole world. The world is shaking with fear and trembling because of coronavirus, but not in Texas. Oh, wait, that's not what that says. This is, but the word of the Lord came to say another worse than coronavirus is going to come. When that comes, it will make this, okay, apparently the second pestilence will produce boils all over the skin, maybe like monkeypox, or maybe in fact monkeypox. This is my writing. All these others are quotes with those lines right here. About 40 days ago, which was a year ago, the first case of monkeypox was discovered in the United States. So apparently, this second pestilence will produce boils all over the skin, maybe like monkeypox, or maybe in fact monkeypox. And about 40 days ago, well, I published this article. When did I publish this? We looked at this a while ago, right? Yeah, I published this article in September. So let's see. CDC, they confirmed after reports of, full transcript of this prophecy is located at Z3 News. Another great wind worse than. All right, YouTube censored the video, which is of some concern. Because YouTube mostly censors the truth. But look at that poor kid. Now, you think when parents see pictures like this, and, because the CDC is going to say, well, unless you want your children, to go to school like this, or stay home from school like this, or do whatever like this, you better get them the vaccines. So this is the lever this time. This is the wedge. This is how they twist the arms. But this is a pretty serious thing. He says when this great wind comes, he's talking about this second pandemic. It'll sting people like a hornet stinger. Feels hot like fire, swelling, boils appear. So temperature rise above 100. Hot. Now, doctors says, I'm baffled and perplexed, not able to discover at all any medicine or vaccine for this. And what if it's not monkeypox? This is a replacement for the video that they took offline before. So I replaced it with this one. They took it off too. That's Google for you. So Biden, what does he want to do? Let's get up here and look at this. He seeks new powers for the World Health Organization, Chief, to declare public health emergencies. He wants, and he wrote this in a letter that he sent to the W.H.O., telling them that he wants the W.H.O. to have just carte blanche authority to declare pandemics and medical emergencies, and they'll tell the doctors what they can prescribe and they can't prescribe outside of those limits. So it's just another power grab. You know, they use the falsified election results to get Biden in office, and this is one of the reasons they wanted him, because Trump, remember, he was taking us out of the World Health Organization. We pay half their bills, and all they do is, it's a political, this guy right here, Tedros, whatever his last name is a communist. He's a communist out of some country in Africa, if I remember right. But he is definitely a communist, and he answers to China. And they want to. So basically, what they're talking about here is giving China control over dominion of the United States. This is what Biden's doing. See here, among the proposed amendments, there's Biden's suggestions and his people. He says one removes an existing requirement in Section 9 that the WHO consult with and seek to obtain verification. They don't even have to seek and obtain verification before they issue their edicts. And, you know, if they issue an edict, say, to the United States, and the suspected problem, the nation with the suspected problem doesn't cooperate within 48 hours, like that, you've got a time limit on it, a fuse. They light the fuse at 48 hours. Then you're going to be vilified and attacked, and they'll do the same thing to all the other countries, including the United States, that they did to Russia or Iran, you know, the sanctions thing. I mean, it's all control and manipulation. Major league bullying. Yeah. Tedros has the authority to declare a public health emergency on the basis of information provided by a source. It could be the dude, you know, that he drives to work with every morning, other than the affected nation. So that's what you are looking at. That's a double-barrel shotgun pressed up against the back of your head, and they're going to decide what to do before November. Here we go. It includes a $2.5 billion mandatory funding for the CDC to include enhancements to domestic sentinel surveillance programs. Expansion of domestic and global wastewater surveillance. Remember the cobra venom relationship with water treatment facilities in various locations where they were having outbreaks. So they're going to have more relationships with wastewater. And investments in global genomic surveillance approaches. They're going to check out your genetic structure. It's a surveillance too. It's not just like a test. They're going to monitor your genome. You know why? Because they're going to modify your genome, and they want to know how far down the road you are. Respiratory surveillance platforms, cameras that specialize in recording when members of the public are seen coughing or otherwise acting in a manner that could indicate the presence of an infectious disease or help spread one already present in the population. And remember, the WHO can declare that present without any verification from the state. And such equipment is widely used in China. So, and there's going to be more of this. Here we go. Yeah, one of Biden's first acts as president was to withdraw Trump's withdrawal notice and to restore U.S. funding, which accounts for half of WHO's budget. Here's a guy that's kind of giving a little pushback. I've never heard of him. He's probably nothing if he doesn't carry a machine gun with him to work every day. Then Yeah, he's really not going prepared to do his job. The power to declare health emergencies is a potential tool to shame, intimidate, and dominate nations. It can be used to justify ostracism and economic and financial actions against the target nation by other nations aligned with the World Health Organization, China, or who wish to harm and control the accused nation, United States. Yeah, it's all of that. And then I published this today. Iran rolls out digital food rationing. It just gets nuts. Nuts. You should watch this. It's at jerrywdavis.com. And today is the, 19th? Let me check. 20th, Friday the 20th. I published this morning. So you can just check for Iran digital food rationing if you're interested in that. Yeah, because they'll be able to regulate what you eat. Have you gotten all your vaccines? And we didn't like who you were talking to yesterday, so we're going to fine you $300, and they'll just take the money out of his checking account. He can't take it out. It's not like he can get cash. They're going to go to a digital system. Digital money means no money at all. Okay? They can do whatever they want because you got it in their bank and you can't take it out. Yeah, here's a little bit less. Last thing on Joseph Biden planning to sign a treaty with the W.H.O. These are some facts, okay? And you've watched this video right here with Mr. Gates. You'll see that you are learning what, as of today anyway, are current facts by someone who's read all the documentation. You will be required to have a digital ID, and the World Health Organization will decide who is sick, not you. You won't make that decision. They will make that decision. They'll decide why you're sick. They'll decide what medicine is permitted and which vaccines will be required. If you fail to obey, the digital ID will enable the World Health Organization to close your bank account. Certainly, the corporations we work for will quickly submit and fully cooperate with the WHO's demands. I guarantee you that's what's going to happen, because that's exactly what happened with the mask mandates. Welcome to the tribulation era, my friends. Welcome to the truth.